Welcome, dear friends of Whispers of Turkish Stars, your favorite corner where every hidden detail becomes news, every glance is dissected, and every word, spoken or swallowed, opens a door to theories, controversies, and passions that burn brighter than camera flashes. Last night's red carpet, meant to be a graceful showcase for a new series, took a sharp turn into full-blown spectacle. The names at the center? Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, a couple audiences adore and the industry watches carefully. What really went down? How did a simple preview overshadow the series it was supposed to promote? And the biggest question of the night, how will Yağmur Yüksel answer the chorus of criticism roaring across social media? Make yourself comfortable, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a like, because the story we're about to tell pulls back the velvet curtain on the way fame really works, and here at Whispers of Turkish Stars we never leave a tense breath or a loaded silence unexplored. We know the rituals, the choreography, the meaning of inches, and yet every time a star steps forward half a step too far, the internet believes it has discovered a brand new law of gravity. The premiere of The Eighth Family was the kind of evening that settles into memory, not for the glitter of gowns, the perfection of the set, or even the scattered international names in attendance. What carved itself into the minds of everyone present, and especially the collective mind of social media, were the human details, the tiny tugs between people, a hand on a waist, a fraction of a step, a request to speed up, a look that did not match the smile. At the heart of it all stood Yağmur Yüksel, the uncontested face of the project, hand in hand with her partner, director, and leading man of her life, Barış Baktas. From the moment they arrived, the night seemed to point its lights at them. Every movement, every pause, every exchange felt amplified, like a melody the room had decided to hum in unison. Then came the moment everyone has replayed in slow motion. Yağmur, angling toward the central spot beside Barış for the group photo, placed her fingers lightly at the side of a younger colleague and guided her a sliver of an inch away, just enough to reclaim the space Yağmur believed belonged to the star of the evening. It was small. Practically invisible. A reflex born on carpets like these, where inches are currency. And yet it caused a chain reaction that would have been comic if it hadn't stung so many observers at once. Clips were cut within minutes. Captions multiplied. Theories collided. Some called it jealousy, others admired the quick instinct of a woman who knows the game. There were those who insisted the colleague should have stood her ground, and those who found all the outrage absurd, insisting that positioning in a photo is choreography, not war. The internet split in two, as it always does when a single gesture becomes a mirror for 1,000 feelings. Editors cropped frames to exaggerate the nudge. Fans zoomed in to show the grace in the touch. Comment sections called Yağmur the queen of the carpet one moment and accused her of vanity the next. Meanwhile, a second detail quietly simmered. While easing closer to Barış, Yağmur was heard, softly but firmly, asking the photographers to hurry up. To some ears, it was the sound of a woman trying to keep control of a scene that was slipping. To others, it was consummate professionalism, keeping a schedule, driving momentum, protecting the mood. You could almost hear the click of a stopwatch in her voice, the heartbeat of a premiere that leaves no room for drift. Enter Barış Baktas, tailored to perfection, alert to every tremor around him. If you watched closely, you saw him scanning the scene, reading it the way only someone who lives beside Yağmur every day can read her. A reporter asked him a question no one expected to matter. What did he think of the way Yağmur handled the photo line? Barış smiled, a smile that knew it was being measured, and said with an airy precision that landed like a dart, Yağmur, as always, reminds us that she is Yağmur. Light words, featherweight on paper. In the world of stars, though, every syllable drops like coin. The meaning felt immediate, teasing, edged with truth. Did he just say what others wanted to say aloud? Was this affection laced with irony, or a tiny reprimand dressed as a joke? Within an hour, the line was everywhere. On X, on Instagram, edited into reels, turned into punchlines, splashed beneath freeze frames of the very moment his partner's fingers pressed and released. The phrase grew legs and ran through timelines, gathering interpretations like confetti. Some called it a dig. Others swore it was protectiveness, a way of telling the world that Yağmur is singular and plays by rules that are hers alone. The discourse spiraled. Was Barış provoking her, defending her, or simply telling the world that he knows her better than anyone and he was not surprised by a moment that belonged to the logic of the carpet? All the conflicting interpretations collided, and with each new angle, the story got bigger, juicier, and messier. It's the paradox of fame: a joke becomes a judgment the instant it leaves the mouth of someone loved. Behind the curtain, while the images of the contested spot took over feeds, the cameras failed to capture something quieter. Yağmur, determined to get the photograph right, repeated to the line of lenses that they should hurry. That time was ticking. Her voice remained even, anchored. The young actress beside her looked serene, detached, almost as if willing herself to disappear from the drama. That contrast became a fable on the internet. Elegance across from urgency, softness set against steel. Narratives were born from thin air. In one version, Yağmur was the tactician who knew exactly what a single second could buy. In another, she was the leading lady who wanted things her way. And because viewers were projecting their own reflections, both stories felt true at once. Rumors from set hands and stylists trickled into the gossip stream. A person close to the production whispered that Yağmur heard the quip and didn't enjoy hearing it. She had not expected him to weigh in with any words at all. Another insider noted that after that, the air behind the scenes tightened, as if a window had closed and the room had grown smaller. The music stayed loud but the joy dimmed, the congratulatory smiles looked delicate, like glassware held too tightly. A third presence swore that Barış, sensing the temperature drop, tried to fix it later with a half-laughing remark, as if humor were a sponge that could soak up spilled meaning. Some who know them well say Yağmur took issue less with the content than with the tone. She has weathered 1,000 headlines, but tone is personal, tone is the part that knows your address. Others insist she will choose her reply carefully, crafting a post that smiles while it cuts, or perhaps a quiet gesture that tells the audience everything without saying a thing. There are those who claim Barış tried, later, to brush the whole moment aside with lightness, leaning on that ease he wears like a perfectly tailored jacket, hoping to make it sound like a compliment misunderstood, a jest lost in the noise. Damage control comes in many styles. His has always been charm with a loose stitch. Communication experts, the kind who feast on these storms, lined up to deliver their verdicts. It's rarely the motion itself, they said, it's the myth that grows around it. The carpet is a battleground stitched in crimson. Each inch is a prize, each gesture immortal, each sentence heavier than it seems. All the ingredients were in the bowl from the start. A beloved lead, a younger colleague in a delicate dance of proximity, a superstar partner who dropped a line that could be read 5 ways, and an audience primed to project their own longing and resentment onto a single photograph. When desire meets suspicion, a touch becomes a thesis. As the night wore on, the memes multiplied. Yağmur became the monarch of the stage in one post and the strategist of the photo line in another. Barış was cast as the wit who knows how to slice tension with a single sentence, or the man who misjudged the weight of words when the room was flammable. The younger actress, unnamed, almost mythical in her quiet, was sainted by some for her composure and dismissed by others as merely doing what any professional would do: hold the pose and let the storm pass. The story swelled because everyone found a place inside it. Meanwhile, brand managers watched the trend charts the way sailors watch clouds. Mentions climbed, sentiment graphs zigzagged, and agencies drafted statements they hoped would never need to be sent. A mutual friend reportedly advised them to post a simple backstage photo together, laughing, to drown the noise with tenderness. Another counselor urged silence, arguing that a storm dissipates faster when it has nothing to push against. Between those two strategies lies the tightrope every famous couple walks. Will Yağmur answer? That is the drumbeat under everything. If she speaks, the line will shift again. If she stays silent, people will decide what silence means. She has that rare stare that can turn soft without surrendering strength, and the audience recognizes it. She can slice through noise with a single caption or refuse to feed it, reminding everyone that stories run out of oxygen when you stop opening the window. Once, early in her career, she let a rumor sit untouched until it cracked from its own heat. That memory still follows her like a lesson stitched into a dress. For now, watch the ripples. Couples like Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel live on 2 stages, the one under the lights and the one at home, where I study the space between words and decide what they mean. When the 2 stages overlap, the smallest act can look like an earthquake. Perhaps that's why last night turned from a premiere into a parable. It wasn't about a dress or a song or a camera angle. It was about control, about partnership, about how love and power learn to share a frame. They are practiced at this dance, but practice cannot tame unpredictability, it can only teach you how to bow when it ends. Some fans have begun cataloging the micro moments from earlier nights, threading them into a pattern, deciding the story started long ago. Did you see how Barış steps slightly behind her at entrances? They ask. Is that deference or choreography? Did you notice how Yağmur never lets her posture lose an inch when flashes erupt? Is that armor or rhythm? None of this has a definitive answer, and that's what keeps the curiosity engine humming. Theories crave fuel, and the fuel is always ambiguity. Inside the car after the gala, as imagined by those who can't help imagining, perhaps there was a long exhale. Maybe there was that shared glance lovers know, the one that means we will talk later, when the world has stopped looking. Maybe a phone lit up with a message from a publicist suggesting a gentle post at sunrise. The truth is likely simpler and more human than the public can accept. Two people going home, peeling off costumes made of attention, trying to remember what their own voices sound like when no one else is listening. In the hush after the party, a different image lingered. Yağmur leaning into Barış, not for the cameras but because the night had been longer than expected. Whatever the internet chose to believe, they were still two people finding their line between the public and the private. If the remark cut, maybe it also reminded them of how easily a shared world can be shaken by an audience that has never learned the difference between a wink and a wound. If the nudge on that waist looked harsh on screen, maybe up close it felt like nothing more than a dancer's correction on a very crowded stage. Scale distorts on the internet, small becomes large, and context dissolves like sugar in tea. And so the storm continues to spin. Did Barış go too far? Was Yağmur seeking attention or simply steering the ship she was hired to command? Was the young actress a casualty, a witness, or just another professional following the choreography? Your answers will say more about you than about them, but that won't stop anyone from answering. In the morning, new angles appeared, new edits promised the real story, and the cycle restarted. The appetite for certainty is endless, the supply of certainty is small. What will happen next? Watch this space. If you want every whisper, every flicker of a look, every line that slips from rehearsed to real, stay with us. Leave a comment, because we read them all. Tap like if you want the next chapter, and subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars so you don't miss a breath. This story has not ended. In fact, if you listen closely, it has only just learned how to speak. And if you think you already know how it ends, remember that a couple's greatest talent is surprising the audience at the exact moment the spotlight feels brightest. Until then, keep your notifications on and your hearts curious, because the red carpet may be rolled up, but the echoes are still walking down it.